Hey guys.
Hey guys, Sarah and San here for
7 Minute Sunday.
what is 7 Minute Sunday, San?
7 Minute Sunday is where we sit down for about 7 minutes and gab about whatever we want.
Yeah, basically usually related to parenting, marriage, working, time management, that kind of stuff. So today we are talking about the
5 love languages.
If you guys are not familiar with what the 5 love languages are, basically Dr. Gary Chapman wrote a very popular book about it. There are 5 languages he has researched and come up with that
Narrowed it down.
everybody has at least one love language that makes them feel loved, and often that's the way they love others. But a lot of times how you need to be loved isn't how your spouse actually loves you, so it can cause
there is
issues.
a chance that you may have the same.
Yeah, you may.
Or one of the same.
And so what are the 5 love languages? Words of affirmation is one. So, you know, getting praised and complimented and just being told how much you love that person is important if that's your love language. Quality time is another, so spending quality time together, not just like being around each other, but
on
blocking
the couch,
off
near
time
your phone's not the same thing.
to give each other your undivided attention. That's quality time. Receiving gifts is another one, and it's not necessarily materialistic. It just means like when somebody takes the time to think about you and actually go out and buy something or write something or make something, that makes that kind of person feel loved if that's their love language. Acts of service is another, so going out of your way to vacuum or clean or run an errand for that person, you know, stuff like that makes that person feel loved. And then the last one is physical touch, so you know, literally like hugging, kissing, holding hands,
Sexual touch.
anything is for physical touch. So we're gonna talk about, I'm gonna set my timer, we're gonna talk about what our love languages are and, you know, issues that have come up before we figured this out and stuff like that. So do you want to talk about what well, let's back up. So I had read this book a couple years ago, and it really made me understand why I was getting so frustrated in our marriage sometimes. And I kept telling Sam, like, you need to read this book, because he wasn't understanding why certain things were upsetting me so much. He just thought maybe I was like kind of being petty or overreacting, but really like I was not feeling loved because he was not loving me with my love languages. So then he ended up listening to the book, right? On Audible.
I think it's like Overdrive or something.
Overdrive.
Like that. I'm not sure.
Through the library or something. So he read it, liked it, figured out his love languages, which helped me too, and now I feel like we can communicate better and we understand each other and why these things can bother us or what we need to do to keep our marriage strong.
Yeah.
So what are your love languages that you learned about?
If I had to pick the top two, would be words of affirmation and touch.
So like what things do I do that like makes you feel loved? Like, you could give examples.
Like a pat on the back, shoulder rubs, kisses, and obviously the, you know.
Oh yeah, I feel like that's important.
It's kind of given, like,
intimacy,
you know, kind of like a pat, like, and even just like, I don't know, touching my leg, just like a quick pat, or, you know, grabbing my hand while we're driving in the car, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Words of affirmation, saying good job, thank you for doing that, I really appreciate it when you do this, you know. It's just kind of all those nice things that you just thank somebody for, really. So.
And on the flip side, what things can make you feel really unloved based on those? I can just think of like when I'm upset with you,
well, it's I don't want to throw Sarah under the bus by any means, but you know, sometimes like you know, take a personal shot, you know, like when she doesn't mean to, you know, like saying, well, you don't do this, blah blah blah, because you're dumb. She never says something like that, but like, if you just to lay it out as an example, it's just kind of like just a jab,
You take words more personally too. So like, for example, when I try to bring up something that's bothering me, even if I'm saying it in a way that is just constructive, he tends to take it to heart more than what I'm intending it to. I think because words are your love language. So on the flip side, if I'm ever critical, I think it hurts more than I intend it to. So I often now will say things like, okay, I love you. This is not, I think you're a good person and whatever. But can you work on
blah, blah.
taking out the garbage more or whatever? Because I think he would take that more personally because of his love language. Okay, so those are Sam's love languages. So mine, it's funny because we don't have the same ones at all. So my top 2 are quality time and acts of service. So just to kind of get into, you know, earlier in our marriage, and if you guys want more information of like how we split household tasks, we just did a video on that as well. We'll link it below. But when we first got married, you know, a couple years into marriage, I was getting so frustrated because, you know, sometimes Sam wouldn't do the things that I don't know, we had never really talked about what was expected, but like sometimes he wouldn't do the things that I thought were his job to do, and to me it felt very hurtful. It wasn't just annoying, it was like, well, he must not love me. Like, he doesn't put his socks in the hamper, he puts them right next to it. Like, to me it felt like he was not loving me. It's hard to explain, but like, and like when he would agree to pick up the dog's poop and he wouldn't do it for a couple days, to me it felt like, well, he must not love me because he's not, you know, I know he loves me, but like it felt very hurtful that he didn't do those things.
Right. Because
that's my love language. And I didn't know why it upset me so much until I realized that was my love language, and he didn't understand why it upset me so much until he learned about love languages. So we've learned that I really need time with our family and together, where we're doing fun things and just being together. It can be really hard, especially because of our schedules being different, and we have a whole video on that as well. But because that's my love language, it can get really frustrating if we're not together. But it also like fills my cup when we do have special times. Like recently for Christmas, we went and spent a Sunday when he was off. We went to a horse-drawn sleigh ride, and we sang Christmas carols as a family, and then we went to a grocery store we hadn't been to and walked around and got hot chocolate and ate donuts there, and that kind of stuff makes my heart overflow. And I just think that's what life is all about from my perspective. So what would you say has benefited our marriage by knowing each other's love language?
I think I guess the best way to put it is like, I have like this light bulb go up in my head that says like, oh yes, I gotta make sure I do X, Y, and Z because this, like Sarah said, will fill her cup, make her happy and feel loved. By no means, guys, that like when feeling loved, they're always gonna feel loved, but like that's like an extra step to like reassure it, you know what I mean?
Keep your marriage strong.
Like she said, she says it's not a petty thing that she gets upset about, you know. Yes, it may seem petty that the socks aren't in the damn hamper. However, if it's a consistent thing and they could look at it the wrong way, like saying like, you don't care enough to pick that up, then you know, but
and you just assume I'm gonna pick them up for you, and that doesn't make me feel very loved.
I mean, it's implied that you love them, but like it's just this act of
because even in the book it talks about like how one person in the marriage was loving the other person by always bringing them flowers. Well, that person's love language wasn't gifts, and so they spent like 30 years not feeling loved, and the spouse thought they were loving them, but it wasn't their love language. So I think it has benefited us. I've noticed Sam really working so hard, and like it's hard to explain why it makes me feel unloved, but to show how it makes me feel loved, like I will notice, well, every day he empties the dishwasher when he wakes up, even if he works at 5 a.m.
One of my tasks.
He does that every morning, and it makes me feel so good. He'll often leave my coffee cup right by the coffee maker. I notice all these things. Like he'll sometimes take out the garbage before work, and I notice that, and it makes me feel loved, like because it's something now I don't have to do, and it made me feel like he was thinking of me.
It's also like one less thing she has to worry about.
Right, and that's what makes me feel loved. Like he's taking the time to like take something off my plate. And when he, you know, will offer to clean something, like that makes me feel so good. One day he cleaned the fridge, like that makes me feel so loved, because normally those would be things that I would do, and it just shows me you care about me by doing some of those things that you don't really like to do, but you're doing it for me. Like that's why it makes me feel loved.
Yeah.
And I'm still working on it, but we used to be more like physical, touching, kissing, grabbing each other's butts, like all that stuff.
I still do that.
Before we had kids, but now with kids, sometimes it's like, I feel like I have to tell myself to do that, not because I don't love him, but it's not my love language. And it's just like, we have so much other stuff going on. So I've been trying to, you know, hug him and kiss him more. Sometimes it's hard.
Like I said, guys, if she doesn't like do those things like I mentioned before with physical touch.
Yeah, you still know I love you.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like I'm going to be upset about it.
Right,
you know?
but it helps. But I think with your love language, I think you feel unloved when I say things that are not positive towards you.
Right, and that are kind of like just direct
you.
Jab at my character versus like constructively saying
something. But even if I constructively say it, it does. I can tell inside of you don't like it, but you've learned like that I'm not saying it in a unloving way. Yeah. I'm just saying like, could you please do this?
I hope this makes sense to you guys, because like there's this whole, it's not, please read the book, because you'll understand what we mean by not feeling loved or feeling loved.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I can't really put it into words unless you read the book.
Right.
Honestly.
It's really good.
Yeah.
We'd love to know what your love language is, and if your spouse has found out their love language, and if you guys are on the same page. And if you happen to be one of the same pair of love languages as us, let us know if like you've had issues with that in relationships, or if like what you've done to help, or like, you know, like for me, scheduling in dates for quality time, or me making sure I say something positive to you once a day would be like a really good thing to do.
And like going out of your way to, like she said, empty the dishwasher, or you know, or something like that. And
like building it into your weeks is a really good idea, because it can be easy, if that's not your love language, to forget. Yeah. Because it's just not how you naturally love.
And like you said, guys, I really recommend this book to anybody.
Definitely read it. Don't just listen to this video.
It also can apply to your kids. It's a kid's book.
Yeah,
once we read that, we'll talk about that too. But we so recommend this book. Like it's one of our top books.
Great book for marriage.
If there's any book that you guys are gonna read, read this one.
Yeah.
So
thank you guys so much for watching, and check back for another 7 Minute Sunday next Sunday. Bye guys.